Hey guys, this is Air King. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my top 5 tips on how to get started in PES MyClub. Now I know this is coming a little bit late, probably would have been a smarter thing to do at the very beginning of the year, but with the recent announcements of what's now called PES 2020, I do think it's going to gain some traction. It looks like it's going to be pretty good, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are probably going to want to try PES 2019 before they even try PES 2020, and part of it is really going to be getting the PES Lite for free. So I want to share with you guys just a few quick tips on how to get started, how to build a B squad, and pretty much how to be able to obtain players like the ones that you guys see right in front of you. So I'm going to break it down into 5 simple categories, do a smaller breakdown for a few of those, and then just go from there. So to get started, the first things I want to talk to you guys about is definitely going to be players and scouts. So the way you obtain players in PES MyClub is through getting scouts. Now I'm going to be doing quite a bit of comparisons to FIFA. I'm not here to compare gameplay, see which one's better, which one's worse. I'll let you guys decide that. But I know a lot of people who probably could use this video. They're probably coming from Ultimate Team, so they probably want to see what are some of the differences, or just in general. I'm pretty sure people are just a lot more familiar with FIFA Ultimate Team, so that's why you'll hear me doing some comparisons in regards to it, but nothing more than that. The way you obtain players in PES MyClub is going to be through scouts. Now scouts can be obtained in multiple ways. You can get them through playing matches, so every time that you play a match, if you go to the scout section here, you can pretty much come here and you'll be able to find all the scouts that you're able to retrieve over your time playing PES. You can get these through playing just regular head-to-head matches, matches against CPU. Pretty much anytime you complete a match, you're going to get a scout. The important thing to know about these scouts is a lot of people will actually come down to the 1-stars and just think of them as trash. They might just try to sell the scouts, they might just spin it and just try to get rid of it because it thinks it has no value. So a few of the things and the reasons that it can be important to keep these bottom scouts is because they can help you get specific players you want. And common things to know is there's different types of scouts. There's 5-star scouts, and if you click on a 5-star scout, as you can see, you can get the highest quality of players, which they go from black ball, gold ball, silver ball, white ball, excuse me. And with a 5-star scout, you can pretty much obtain these. Now you can see here I have one 5-star scout, but if I click R1, you can see there's a 0.08% chance that I'm going to get a black ball. You can see the percentages for the rest of the tiers as well. So the majority of the time, you're probably going to get either a white ball or a bronze ball if you spin by itself. So the reason it's important to be able to combine scout is to get the exact ones you want. So for example, if there's a real specific player I want, that's maybe like a bronze or something like that, I can keep the 3-star, combine it with the 1-star, and I'll just use right back for an example. I'm not saying I actually care for this right back, but as you can see, if I just use 3-star attacking prowess by itself, on the bottom right corner you can see there's over 1,182 players to pick from. But if I combine it with other scouts, even if it's a 1-star scout, I can go right back, for example, and it narrows it down to just these 6 players that we have. This works well if you're trying to get specific players, and pretty much the way it balances out is if you get 3 of the same quality star, you can get players of that caliber and lower. So for example, if I have 3-star players, do I have another 3-star scout? I do. Let's do like Argentine League. So I did Argentine League, North and South American, and attacking prowess. It narrows it down to these 40 players who I can use. Now if I wanted to do the same thing, but let's say I wanted to do it as you guys saw with the 1-star, it narrows it down to the highest level I can get would be a bronze, which would be considered 2-star. So that's why, depending on a specific player you're searching for, it could be important to definitely keep some of these. Every player does have value. There's some players that I use that are white ball and bronze beast, which I'll be doing a video on later on in the future, that people might write off at first off getting like off a free spin, but every player is important. Obviously everybody wants to play with players like these, your Messi, your Maradonas, your legends and stuff like that. If I go in reverse order, there's some players that are bottom tier that I actually used quite a bit. Some of those players are Brahim Diaz. Everybody knows Brahim Diaz from Madrid. So if you look at his stats, they're obviously, again, not going to compare with like the levels of a black ball player, but they're still pretty good, and I actually use them quite significantly as well too. Who else? Who's another player that I used a lot? Timothy Weah, the American striker. He was pretty fun to play with. And I think if I click on my stats here, pretty sure you can see stats. So you can see with him I've only played 6 matches. 6 matches, 7 goals. I'm pretty confident that was against CPU, and 5 assists. So some of these players, just because they're low rated doesn't mean they're bad or anything like that. So when you first start off, it's important to keep every player, and part of the reason why will be explained a little bit later in the video as well too. And the next thing to know about players too, one of the things that I feel like a lot of people get frustrated about playing MyClub, especially newcomers, is just managing contracts. Managing contracts can kind of suck. It eats up your GP, it can eat up your coins, and it can just pretty much deteriorate you from wanting to play the mode altogether when you don't have that many players to begin with. So one of the important things to know, even though it says players have 10 contracts when you get them by default, and when you renew them it goes to 10 contracts, they actually technically have 900 minutes. So what does that mean? Well, if you think about it, a soccer match not including extra time is 90 minutes. So one contract technically equals 90 minutes. For example, this, let's see, I guess we'll use Fabian Reese as a good example right here. If you guys see to the right where it says contract duration, he has 10 contracts left. Now, let's assume that for some reason I'm just not going to start him. I'm going to put in Goody or something to play instead. If I were to sub him in at halftime, technically that means he would only play 45 minutes. What does that mean? That means that contract duration over there that you see to your right, that's 10, that actually goes to 20 games. It's not going to say it, it's not going to go down to 9.5, but just use it and trust me, I have something that I have used and tested out myself. So essentially, if you have players that have different skill traits, like super sub or things like that, and you bring them on in the second half, you could essentially make use of them for 20 matches if you just manage their time wisely. And I have tested this as well too. It's not perfect to the T, but it seems like it is pretty true to the number. So if I only use a player like 30 minutes a game, chances are I can divide those 900 minutes into 30 minutes per game. And again, it's not going to say on the right 9.7, 9.3 or anything like that, but it is something that does work. Now, the next part about using players and contracts, you want to consider form. Now with form, now that the season's over, it doesn't really matter. But form essentially would be these letters. I still think a lot of people who play PES do not know what these letters mean. What these mean is pretty much the player's form. There's A, B, C, D, and E. A being the best, E being the worst. Now what that means is, chances are, if you've ever played the game, you've seen when the players go down, have the little arrows that are either sideways yellow, slightly up green, or full up dark green. Same thing with if they're out of form, it will be slightly down like an orange color or full down red. If a player is on an A and a B, he'll never be lower than your yellow arrow, which means he'll always be at least in normal form. Now if he's on a C, it can go either way. The way you can determine these things as well too is by going to the player himself. If you click on the player menu and look at the player details, one of the important things to consider when using players is the condition. So as you guys can see here, Ronaldinho has 6 conditions. So max condition you can have is 8, lowest is 1. That means he's more likely to be on a average arrow or higher more often than none. If you look at some of the other players as well too, Modric is the cream of the crop when it comes to this. So that means Modric, there's a high likely chance he's always going to be on an even arrow or higher. This is also for another video, but I know there have been some YouTubers and Reddit posts out there that have done some research where they actually have some actual numeric data to prove that this isn't always true to form, and sometimes some of the lower condition players actually resulted in getting better forms to match. But in theory and practice, this is the way condition is supposed to work in it. So a lot of those things are pretty crucial. As you can see, most of the legends or high elite players have pretty high condition. But not everybody's like that. There's some high-rated players who may not always have that elite form. For example, this featured player Benzema, he only has a 5. Now 5 isn't necessarily terrible out of 1, but you'd be surprised more often than not they're going to be either average or lower. Let's see if I can find somebody, like for example, here's a really good example. So this Lovren, this is obviously a featured player Lovren, that's why he's so high-rated. But if he's on a C, he has 3 condition, there's probably a decent chance he's going to be a regular yellow arrow, or he's going to be down perhaps. So those things are definitely important to consider when using players. The other thing, I don't really have any contract tickets because I used all of mine up. But if you were to go to like your team menu, you can see contract renewal ticket on the bottom. That's grayed out for me. Those are important to save for your super high tier players just because they're so damn expensive. So for example, going back to the player menu, I would never use a contract tier on a gold, silver player or anything like that. I'm going to save them for players like these insane ones, like this featured player Messi, Neymar, Salah. These guys are going to be pretty dang expensive GP wise or coin wise to renew. So I would save my tickets for those types of players and just use GP on the lower tier players like your gold balls or silver balls and those types of things. The next part that I want to talk about is going to correlate with all the other things as well too, and that's going to be having multiple squads. Now I know once you get players like these high elite players, you're probably like, I want to play every single match with them. I mean, come on, I have featured player Neymar, featured player Messi, I have Hazard, Aubameyang. I want to play with them every game. Once you're pretty well settled into the game and you got yourself a nice little pool of GP and stamina renewals, you could definitely do that, but when you first start off, I would suggest at least having 3 rotation teams. Now what that means is if you actually look, I'll show you guys a few of my squads. Actually, you can have up to 10 squads. I can't create any more because as it says right there, the maximum is 10. But I actually do play with every single one of these. You can see there, I have different names for them. You can see the formation and the manager. You can see their team spirit and strength, what star level they are. So all these different teams, I actually use them and I rotate them. So as you can see, they also have different players on them as well too. They're going to have different players in the previous squad. I'm not always going to try to play with the exact same players back to back to back. The whole point of having rotation teams is if you don't use a rotation team, it's going to be really hard to be able to manage stamina, and it's going to be hard to be able to manage contracts. The reason you want to use rotation teams when you're first starting off is to make sure you give yourself enough of a pool to build GP. If I were just to keep playing 5 games in a row with this team, chances are I'm going to have to renew them eventually, and by the time I get enough to actually spin a scout, I'm really going to have to be using them to renew my team. If not even if I spin, I'm just not going to have enough players to play. So that's one of the reasons that it is important to make sure that you create up to 3 rotation teams. One of the most fun players I had with was this Goios, and I'm pretty sure I said that wrong. And it's pretty funny because he's Portuguese and he does the Ronaldo celebration. This is one of the starters, so I'm pretty sure everybody has him. But if I were to go to Goios, when I first got the game, he was one of my main strikers because he had pretty decent stats for what I had compared to a white ball. Obviously, he's no Aubameyang or anything like that, but he was pretty fun to play with. And he had pretty decent condition too, not bad non-dom leg usage, which is pretty much weak foot in this game. But here's the pretty insane part about him, you know, bronze player, didn't even get him to base level 30. How many games did I play with him? I played 38 matches with him between offline and online when I first started the game. Average rating of 7.56. Check out the goals though. This dude netted 64 goals for me, which was just quality at the beginning of the year to get this kind of output from a bronze player. 26 assists. This affinity pretty much means how well he'll work with the tactics of the manager he's aligned with. And again, a 70 overall player playing online for me, netting me 64 goals is pretty darn quality. And that's why, again, I say you shouldn't really disregard players just because they're not going to be on the, you know, UEFA Team of the Year or anything like that. Now again, disclaimer, this was at the beginning of the year. This was before everybody was rolling deep with featured players and everybody had Ronaldo and Messi. So I'm not telling you to go play him against the 5-star squad. I'm just saying when you first starting off, he's definitely going to be quality for you. The final tip I have in regards to just kind of managing squads and players and everything too is making sure you don't have any matchmaking restrictions for the rating. It makes it easier to find opponents, but I would really suggest similar level. I bump into a lot of people trying to play 4-star teams, but the only reason that their team is a 4-star is because they have like a featured player Salah, a featured player Ronaldo, and a few golds, but everybody else is a white ball. Just keep that in mind. Don't make it difficult on yourself trying to search anything because you're going to end up playing some 5-star teams, and it's going to make it pretty frustrating. This is something I probably should have covered with the players piece of it too. But talking about coins, PES did a lot of featured players or special agents, if you will. So like for example, right now, they have the League MVPs, which is players of the season, and they're only 100 coins. This is why I'm saying it's important to save your coins for these types of players, because you're going to get a lot more value from your coins obtaining players like this throughout the season versus using them on contract renewals, managers, and things like that. Again, it's like managing a club. You're going to start off as a small club, no-name club, and eventually you'll build yourself up. And you got to learn to manage your finances, so to speak, in this case GP or coins well. So it is important to know that as well. The final tip that I have for you guys is just stay positive. Again, this is like managing your own club, meaning whether it's the finance part of having the GP or the coins, or creating different squads, choosing who you want the manager to be for your club. All these things are extremely crucial. So make sure that when you make decisions, whether you're purchasing scouts, you're spinning a certain special agent, you're hiring a certain type of manager, make sure it's something that you really want to invest in, because it is going to be a pretty big piece on the type of football your team plays, and it's going to be a pretty big piece on like the manager and how your players adapt to those things. So make sure you make those decisions kind of long term when you first start, because it does take a little bit to build your club. Hopefully this was helpful to a few of you guys. I don't think enough people know about some of these features in MyClub. If you like this type of video and you want to see more things like this, please let me know in the comments below. If you learned anything new or liked anything that you heard today, please leave a like. Also, please subscribe if you like these types of videos, because in the future I'm going to be doing more videos like this, more tips, and I'm going to be doing a lot of squad building. And then also in the comments below, let me know what kind of videos you guys want to see. Let me know what kind of tutorials you guys want to see, and just pretty much different things you guys would like to see more from PES. I did start late this year, but PES 2020, I'm going to start week 1. I'm going to upload content week 1. I know there's going to be changes coming to my club, so if anything does change, I'll make sure to update you guys on that. But again, thanks for your time, and I hope you guys have a great day. This is Air King, out.